Hello and welcome to a series on the how to use Vue to create a front-end application. I'm going to be going over the basics of Vue. We're going to talk about what Vue is, how it renders stuff to the page, what a Vue file looks like, and how to pass data between components, because Vue is a component-based thing. Before we talk about Vue, we need to talk about what a JavaScript framework is and the history of them, very, very briefly. Before JavaScript frameworks like Angular, React, and Vue, and Ember, and all these things, before they became very popular, what websites were made of were just static HTML files. And if you wanted to make anything dynamic, you'd have to write your own custom janky JavaScript in order to swap elements out or change the CSS so that elements are hidden or not hidden. It's essentially very cumbersome. And what frameworks do is frameworks organize the creation of web apps and APIs to do all that stuff for you. What Vue is Vue even? Vue is a lightweight, very easy to learn framework. The reason I love Vue so much is that it was very, very easy to pick up. It took me back end of a Sunday, I think, to create my first app. It didn't do very much, but it is very intuitive. It's a progressive framework. This is just lifted out of Vue's website. If you have an existing server-side application, Vue can slot into just one part of it. So say you wanted one specific part of your front end to be very dynamic. You could slot Vue in very easily because it's very, very lightweight and fast. It wouldn't be noticeable. In fact, it would probably be quicker than what you've got at the moment. Alternatively, though, if you want to build your front end entirely on Vue, you can, because of a thing called Vuex, which is Vue's answer to Redux. It's just basically state management, and I'll go over that in a future video maybe. And Vue Router, which is the ability to switch between URLs on the website, and not just have it on the single URL. Vue uses components to make your Vue files reusable, meaning that you can follow the does one thing and one thing well principle. What this basically means is you've got all of your Vue elements on a page are organized into single components, and these components should be as small as you can possibly get them. It makes it very easy to test and easy to debug where things are going wrong if all your files are very small and very easy to read. And also, a thing that I love about Vue is that everything is very self-contained. So you can scope your CSS to single Vue files. Your JavaScript functions can't be called from random places. They can only be called from within those Vue files, unless obviously you omit them. So let's create a Vue app. The way to do that, where's my terminal? So currently, let's just have a look inside the desktop. There's nothing there. There are two ways of creating a Vue app. You can use the command line, which is the first thing we're going to do, and then I'm going to show you very quickly how to use the user interface in order to, or a user interface in order to create a Vue app. You need Vue installed already, and Vue UI as well, which is the other thing. But you want Vue create. Just going to call this one demo. Just use the default settings for now. Don't need to faff around with it. Vue will take a couple of minutes to load this up. While it is doing that, I'm going to show you how to use the user interface. What you want to do for this is Vue UI. In Vue UI, what it is a way of using your browser in order to create things. So this is the thing that we've created through the command line. We're inside the desktop folder here. If we want to create a new project using Vue UI, we would name it here, call it demo 1, for example. Package manager, I'm just going to use the default, which is npm, because I don't know how to use yarn. If you want a Git repository, you could do all this stuff. Again, we can use the default preset or manually select what you want. This would just add dependencies to your project and make it a bit more fleshed out from off the bat, but we don't need this at the moment. You can test or use Vuex in the router and TypeScript and all this sort of stuff. We don't need all that though, just use default presets. And then it will basically make the project for us. Behind the scenes, it's doing exactly what the command line did. So it's just doing exactly the same stuff. Looking at the command line, we can cd into demo, which change directory into demo, that is, and have a look. So what it's done for us is it's created a readme, which we can ignore for now. Babel config we probably never need to touch. Node modules just gets populated automatically. Package lock and package JSON, they contain all your dependency info, all your information about your app. And then public and source are what we care about. Then I believe this said it was done. Cool. So, using the UI very quickly. Actually, no, before we do, let's go into here. npm run serve. And this is how we would start our Vue app. Just let it kind of do its own thing in the background. And this is now running on localhost 8080. There we go. Vue has created this for us. We're going to delete all of this inside the project structure in a second, because we don't need any of it, but this is what it's made for us. If we want to start an app using the Vue UI, what this is it's basically reading from the package.json and the package lock to populate all these fields. So project tasks inside your package JSON, you'd have it would define all this stuff for you. Serve creates the development server, so it would hot reload as you change files. Build kind of compresses it down and makes it ready for production. You don't need to know about those. For now, let's just run this one. So you can do everything from the UI that you can do in the command line, but I prefer the command line because I do. What this has done is it started the server on 8081. Vue's clever in that when you've already got something running on the default port, it would just look for the next available port. So in this case, it was 8081, and then we've got the exact same thing going on 8081. I'm just going to close that. We can stop the task. We don't need it running anymore because we're going to be doing everything inside 8080. The demo. You can close this. Don't need it. You can keep it running. Doesn't matter. So inside Visual Studio Code, which is what I'm going to be using to do all my work today, I'm going to open up demo. And app.vue is where it's loaded all this stuff. To start off with, how does Vue load anything? Vue is a great way of creating single page applications. And what that means is essentially you only have one index.html file, and Vue uses JavaScript to just inject stuff into the page. Looking at the main.js, we don't need to worry about this for now. And you don't need to know exactly how this works, but essentially what it's doing is it is mounting the app, all the stuff that's in app.vue, inside the element with the ID of app. So in our case, it's mounting everything that we do in app.vue and below into this div here. Now if we have a look at the, if we inspect here, or do the equivalent in your browser, everything that we see on the page is inside this ID. If we viewed the page source, we wouldn't be able to see anything that Vue has done because it uses JavaScript to insert stuff on the page. As you can see here, there's a no script. We need JavaScript running in order for Vue to work, basically. Your website won't work without JavaScript running. And inside here, we've got an image, we've got a div, all this data stuff. I'll explain what that bit is in a second. So what we've got inside this app.view, we've got a template, which is basically your HTML, your script, which is basically your JavaScript, and your style, which is basically your CSS. In order to explain exactly how all this stuff works, let's just delete what we don't need. We don't need any of the hello world. We don't need anything that Vue has given us. We don't need this file. Get rid of it all. Just for this demo at least. You might want to keep it. What Vue does is it looks for the most top level element and it pops that into, in this case, it's getting the top level element from app.view and it's mounting it onto the thing with ID of app. If, for example, you had two divs here, it would complain because it wouldn't know which of these two is the top level. It would just know that there's more than one thing there and it will just not compile. If you wanted multiple elements, you just pop them inside here. So we have, this is a paragraph. And if we wanted more elements, we can make more. Let's just do this. And what we've done there is we can technically build our entire application inside this one div, but that wouldn't be component based at all. Like I said earlier, the idea of component based applications is every component that you make should be as small as is logically possible. So what does this now look like? We've now got 2 paragraphs on the page. It's a really good website, I know. Now, component based means stuff is in different component files. We've just deleted the hello world file, but let's just create paragraph.view just to make a point. So what you'd want is you'll need template, you'll need a script, and you'll need some style. What I'm using is I'm using Vueter, which is a VS Code extension, in order to auto-complete some stuff, and it does some stuff for you, which is quite nice. We need our top level element, which in this case will be a paragraph. Just copy this, and we can get rid of that because we're not going to use it anymore. And give this a name, para. Doesn't matter. What does this app look like now? The paragraph that we've just made isn't there. Why is that? It's because in order for components to load, first off you need to include them on here. And at the moment we've got no data in there, so we don't need to don't need more than one tag. We'll just close it there. And as well as that, we need to import paragraph from components / paragraph.view. So we're in here, we're going inside components and then paragraph.view. And then in here we want the paragraph component as well. And we're back. Now this is inside its own component. It's not inside the app directly, at least. Next off, what did I mention earlier? I mentioned that if we look here, I've said each Vue file contains its own HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, so that they can be completely independent of one another. What that means is that you can declare something as wide as, say, P. Give it a color red, and it will only be applied to this. Or will it? No, it won't. Terrible. What you need to add in order to make your CSS and stuff apply to only a thing is you need to apply the scoped keyword to your style. And what that will do is it will mean that everything inside this component has this CSS here applied to it, but nothing outside of this component. So nothing above this component, sorry, does. So this paragraph here inside the p tag doesn't know what the CSS inside here is doing. And how it does that is, as we saw earlier with the default thing it gave us, is Vue adds these data v bunch of nonsense attributes to the elements, and then the CSS, when it's loaded as just standard CSS and not a Vue file, is its p with this data tag has the color of red, and this paragraph obviously doesn't have that data tag. That's how that works in a nutshell. It's very simplified, but whatever. Next up, and finally, I want to talk about props. Props are a way of passing data from the parent, in this case the app.vue, into a child. So if we wanted this file to not have any static data in it at all, we get rid of that. We want that static data to be passed through from the parent, say for example from an API call, or if you wanted to make a generic title component, for example, and you want a title on each page to be different, but you don't want to make a different title component for each one. You'd use props to pass data from wherever you're loading the title into the title Vue file. And how you do that is, inside here we need some props, and to declare props you use props colon, and then you want an array of whatever props you're going to use. These props can be JavaScript objects, they can be strings, integers, you can pass functions as props as well. But in this case we just need the single message, and that's just going to be a string. So there we go. Now we've got a template that is entirely reusable. It doesn't have any dummy data in it at all. In order to pass the text, this is another paragraph, into this, first we need to create some data, or create a data inside this export default part, and then that data is going to return a message containing that string. And how do you get this data message into the props of here? What you need to do is you need to v-bind the message props from paragraph, and for that you need this message here. And what that's doing is binding the message props from here to the message data here. And if we save that, then this is another paragraph reappears. If you wanted to change the text inside here, you could just, this is another paragraph 2, save it, you got another one, 2 in there. And technically we could call this message 1, rename this to message 1, and then message 2 be it's a paragraph. What have I forgotten? There you go. And then here we can just paragraph v-bind message as message 2, and then close that off again. Oh, there we go. And this is a paragraph, this is another paragraph. Obviously now this is now using the paragraph here, so it's got this red styling on it. And that is very, very basics of Vue. We've gone over what Vue is in terms of it is a JavaScript framework. We've gone into how it renders to the page by inserting stuff into the app ID. We've gone over what a Vue file looks like with the template, the script, and the style tags. and we've gone into how to pass data from a parent to a child using props. Next video, I'm going to go into loops, how you create a loop and fill data onto a page using a for loop essentially. But the syntax for that. We're going to go into conditional rendering with VIF and VElse, and then also using functions to do stuff, because it's not exactly as simple as normal JavaScript, but it's not difficult either. Use methods. If you got any questions, let me know in the comments. And thanks for watching. See you in the next one.